Esteemed by transfer students university-wide. We have Dale Larson.
That we have somebody you've already transferred here and you're finishing up. Is there anybody here who's still going through your first year of transferring, or somebody coming? Yeah?
Yeah, first year, second semester.
Okay, good for you. Where's everybody else at? Are you close to finishing, or?
I have a year left.
You have a year. So, what is an academic library for, and why do we exist, especially for transfer students, is why I'm here. There's universal for Utah is that the process of transfer felt chaotic, and it was a surprise. When a lot of transfer students have said that, oh, so many people have transferred before, and there's a transfer program, it must be no problem. And it feels like you're in like the space shuttle trying to enter the atmosphere. So other people feel that way too. Another one is relationships with advisors is a big deal. I don't know if that comes from the academic success side or not. A student said there's a lot of resources that are great, but they're hard to find when you really want them or need them. So one thing that you should know, one takeaway, is that I am here for you for the rest of my academic career and for the rest of your life. If you write to dale.larson@utah.edu at any time in your future, I'm contractually obliged to answer your questions, and I don't even have to ask you who you are. And I have people have written to me that have been students here that have gone off to like New York, or somebody wrote to me from Verona, Italy, which was so cool. But they were looking for like homelessness depicted in newspapers in Salt Lake City. And I was like, yeah. So if you tell me transfer students' lives are wildly complicated. So the message that came out of it was that a strong transfer equals seamless transitions. So if there's anything that felt natural, where you're like, oh, that was so uncomplicated, let us know, because that's what our goal is. If there's anything that felt chaotic, like the information systems degree that you were talking about, let us know about that. Because qualitative and quantitative data is critical for every college, and the university does not want anyone to feel uncomfortable while they're in school. That's like, should go beyond saying. Okay, I did a literature review, and I'm going to show you how to do a literature review on how to find what the most important things for transfer students is. If you perceive, as a transfer student, if you perceive attitudes and treatment that make you feel like you don't belong, that is not the intention of the institution, because that is a barrier to your success. If you in any way from your peers or people in the parking lot, the person who's like paying or giving the Starbucks, anything that's on campus, if it makes you feel like you don't belong, the university needs to hear about this, because if you feel even in the slightest bit like you don't belong, you're less likely to stick it out your first year. You're less likely to stick around. You're less likely to graduate. So Dale's rule of thumb: if you ever feel like you don't belong, come to me and I'll buy you a coffee and a donut, because then I get to have a coffee and a donut too. But ignore it, or find out somebody that says you do belong. We have like 2 people right here. We're like, hell yeah, you belong. They can go, we'll think of some euphemism that I shouldn't record on YouTube. Okay, sense of belonging is a big deal, but it's a social construction. If you're hungry, if you're tired, if it's the end of the semester and you're stressed out, even the slightest thing might make you feel like you don't belong. So if you run stuck, talk to each other. Talk to me. Talk to your peers, talk to your faculty. Second one, work on, here's your goal for the first, well, okay, if you've been around for longer than 2 months, this is your goal for the next 2 months. If you work on the social, the community, the belonging, the friendships, the group associations as a priority for your first 2 months as a student, you're much more likely to succeed and go on for the rest of the way. The second one is related. And this one sounds hard, but it's a good goal. And it's also backed up by evidence. If you, and these are my words, if you grind out, if you crank out, if you work really hard in your first full academic year, you build something that's known in the social sciences as academic momentum. This is a quantifiable thing. So it's kind of like working out. If you run 3 times a week for a whole academic year, then the next academic year, you're already going to be in shape for this. So if you really, really focus on working really hard for a year, you have that momentum and you're much more likely to succeed. None of this is my advice. This is academic research that's evidence-based, where they studied people doing interviews, or they studied people, there was a population. What are major problems that society could solve? And so it might be like the big ones like student debt, affordable housing, food access, access to transportation. Come up with something, I'll give you 30 seconds. So one of the worldly problems the group is going to look at, student credit card debt. Yeah, I'll lump it together, but okay, how about this side? Well, something that this transfer student body at the University of Utah cares about. So you can't pivot to global warming. Parking. Do you want to do housing? Housing or parking?
I don't know, they're kind of combined, you're doing on campus housing. Parking.
Parking? Okay.
I feel like the students in Utah is still like a partial.
Oh, yeah.
Especially amongst transfer students. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They make it really hard.
Yeah. And affordable housing near campus doesn't exist
Yeah. That's true.
unless you live in a car
Or
or with your parents. Okay. So our 2 topics are, oh, and if you have a computer, you have one on this side, you'll be the representative. Do either of you have a computer, or do you want to just wing it with a phone? Gonna wing it with a phone. All right. Okay. When you are looking at an academic library, a very important thing to recognize is that we are not allowed to have a bias or an opinion. We have to represent all objective evidence that's produced. So if there's something that proves beyond the shadow of a doubt something the evidence suggests, there'll still be articles that talk about it, and it'll still be more like questions. So it really hurts, for example, when I put my hand on a red hot stove. But if I keep putting my hand on the stove, I might show up in the psychology journals like, well, this guy keeps on hurting himself, but he keeps putting his hand on the stove. So there's no end or bottom line or ultimate truth in academic libraries, because we want everyone to come at it from their own objectives, looking for evidence to support what they want to say, what matters and what exists, is the very bare bones of it. So when you come to an academic library, don't think that we skew one way or the other. That's against our code of conduct, and I could lose my job if I was like, okay, I need you to follow Marduk. Marduk? I think that's the ancient Syrian god. We need to follow Marduk and his followers from ancient Syria, and all of my research assistants will go by that. I'm not allowed to do that. A big part of that also is if you come to me with a controversial thing. So for example, Bruni in 1600 went to the Pope, I don't know why, went to the Pope and said, you know, there's a lot of evidence that suggests the Earth isn't the center of the universe. And they burned Bruni at the stake. If you have some research that you want to do in an academic situation, even with current legislation against DEI and bathrooms and things like that, if you do research on anything, that's academic freedom, and no one is allowed to see your research. We have a strict privacy policy. The library catalog, it's not a smart search because it would hurt your privacy if we looked at your cookies or your history or your IP address that tells us where you're from. So it only works off of spelling. So whatever words you put in, so I'm going to just put in a word salad. College, parking, student, commuter, So it's the words that matter. It's commuter, maybe transportation, cost. Every word that you put in, so it's right now, if you look in the library catalog, it's gonna look at about 100 to 150 million different things. And it's only gonna pull back those things that have an incidence of each one of these words in there. So the more words you put in, the less results you'll get. So let's see what we get. We still got 33 articles. That's pretty good. Transportation demand management policies on commuting to college facilities. A case study from Italy. Ooh, the theme of the day is Italy. Oh, well, maybe we can find more stuff. So what I would like you to do as a team is I would like you to find, so go to the library homepage, and I think you could do that on your phone too. So libutah.edu, and your first task is throw some words in there and see if you can find an article that resonates with your values. So we're not looking for the perfect article because there isn't such a thing. So you're going to look up for something that you go, oh yeah, that's what I want to find something on. All you have to do is find an article. How do you find an article? You can type in anything, just kidding, and then look for this article's link. And the more words you put in, the smaller your search and more focused your search results will be. Okay, you have 1 minute to find one article that the title says something that reflects your team values. Tell me what matters. And by the way, did you know that if you find something that resonates with you, that's why an annotated bibliography is something that can be copyrighted? It's because you have arranged and you've picked out that data. So this is actually a known research methodology, is doing annotated bibliographies. So picking something and presenting it is copyrightable, and it's a creative work. Yeah. So congratulations, you are all authors at this point.
So we did,
So just read the title though.
okay.
See if it speaks to us.
We said estimating commuter mode choice, a discrete choice analysis of the impact of road pricing and parking charges.
Ooh, okay, did you find it? Did you read any of it? Did they give us like a golden nugget of a solution? Sounds like charging money to drive on the road.
Just like one, I mean, just for the quote, I think it's on it, but it was like, one option for minimizing these costs to introduce road pricing and parking charges to reduce demand for single occupant vehicles.
Oh, so if you drive onto campus, if you're the only one in the car, you might get charged. Oh, that's like the HOV lane or bridges in California. Okay. It doesn't solve every problem, but it's a potential solution.
Yeah.
That your team curated. Look at that. You're like a PR campaign team right there. Okay. We're talking about student debt, maybe global warming tied in.
We got the cost of financing education and student debt in the.
Oh, so is there a point that you think you found that you want to glean from that?
So, I have a whole paragraph about it that, student debt makes it so that students are less likely to start successful ventures.
Whoa.
Because of a change to the higher education amendments of 1998 means you can't get rid of student debt even if you make it.
Oh, okay. So speaking to the YouTube video, we had parking, and they found an article just using this word salad in the catalog that they curated, that they found that is the most valuable, that talked about if you have less than 2 people in the car, maybe there's a special fee for driving on campus. There was another group that looked at student debt, and they discovered that one of the initiatives of our state or Republican candidates is you want to foster entrepreneurship. But if students have too much debt, it reduces the chance of them being an entrepreneur. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, that's huge. Okay, so I tricked you all. You just did an annotated bibliographic entry. Congratulations. all you would have to do at this point is cite it, and you have an annotated bibliography entry. When you do an annotated bibliography, unless it's very, very systematic, which is a cruel recipe that people in the health campus do, then if you choose something and you think it works, that's why it should appear in the annotated bibliography. So congratulations. I tricked you into working. Let's move on. Let's find another article on your topic. So we're going to build, so there's 2 points. Now we're going to find another point. Let's go to, so if you go back to the library homepage, you should know that the library catalog has this little link up to the upper right-hand side. Oh, you can't see it. Maybe we could drag it down.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. If you can't access the full text of anything that you find, I can get it for you, or I will die trying. But before I die trying, try logging into off-campus access first. If you like Google Scholar, log into this and then go out to Google Scholar, because that will have a lot of the stuff that we already subscribe to. So you don't necessarily have to come to us first, but do log in here. If you ever need to pay for something, put down your credit card and email Dale. I should put my, email me first. I have a budget that I have to spend every fiscal year. So if you need a book, textbook, entertaining book, I'm not allowed to ask why you're getting it. Turn off that imposter syndrome. Okay. Second thing that every academic library has is databases. Oh, by the way, if you find an article, does anyone have that article still up?
Yeah.
Okay, give me some of the title. I'm gonna put it in quotes. So give me on the commuting one.
Estimated commuter mode choice.
Estimated commuter
Oh,
mode.
estimated.
Oh, okay, I'll start with that. Estimating commuter mode. If you have part of the title, if it's a textbook, or if you go out to Google, you could do lyrics or something that somebody said, but if you put it in quote marks, it will look for that very thing. And you can see if we have it or not. Survey says, woo! You guys are not impressed. That's all right. Thank you. So if you need an article, or if you find a citation, look for it in quotes, and you could look on the open web for stuff like that too. Or if you look for something that somebody said. So if you're looking for quotes and anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the library homepage. Am I at the library homepage? I'm not at the library. Okay. Oh, by the way, interlibrary loan down here. If you fill in the citation information for anything, they'll go get it for you for free. This is something that happened during COVID, where even if we had like a chapter out of a book and you didn't want to go get it, they would scan it for you. Or they can mail things to you. I mailed a book to a guy in Lima, Peru, and I insisted that we do a Zoom so I could see Lima in his background. It was the coolest thing. A main deal with transfer students is you come in and you haven't experienced that freshman orientation and things like that, and you think that services like this aren't for you. Maybe it's just for faculty. Maybe it's just for this. No, it's for you. It's for you. If somebody is giving away free food, oh, okay, here's a rule of thumb. Yay! Here's a rule of thumb. If there's anything being given away, walk up to it and take it. And if anyone gives you at the slightest bit of hassle, say, Dale the librarian said it was okay that I had this. Throw me under the bus.
You can also mention me too.
Yeah. But none of the things that happen on campus, even like a band coming and playing, none of that is done without evidence-based scholarship behind it. When they give away free pizza, it's to foster that feeling of belonging. It's to foster community. And even the library does a thing where we give away donuts and pizza in, I think, like homecoming week. Okay, so databases. Databases, we have, so back in the day, we used to get a bunch of magazines and journals. There's tens of thousands of titles for scholarly work. So there's a lot of work on transfer. We even saw a journal about transfer students. There's boring library journals. There's journals about business and information systems. There's journals about everything under the sun. You don't necessarily have to know which journal to go into because you can go in by topic. Where are you, mouse? There you are. So what I'd like you to do, I don't know if we're gonna, because we're looking at like public policy and funding for these problems. Let's go to a public policy database. Oh, by the way, if you find yourself in a class and you don't know how to do research, if you find yourself in a business or accounting class, if you go to that, whoever the librarian or librarians are, will have put their favorite and easiest one to access in yellow at the top, and they'll have a link to their guide. So you can see who the business librarians are. If you want to find your librarian here at Research Guides, if you just type in business, hey, there I am. There's biology, religious studies, fine arts, theater, exercise and sports science, sometimes business. So you can find your people here. That's what it should have linked to. And we're all contractually obliged to do the same thing that I do, help you with, I don't know. So go to the letter P. I'm the coolest geezer in the library. Let's say that. Go to the letter P, and I want you to look in a database that's about public policy. And it's the first one. It's called PAIS. If you don't know any of these databases, you've got librarians you can reach out to. And you say, hey, I'm doing study. Well, okay, so the next one, go into PAIS International. And this is public policy. So these are cities and states that have funded something and they're doing a case study. And so for this one, I would like you to go to advanced search, please. This is a more formal database. You can't put in a word salad. You have to put in words and then put an or in between them. So for example, on the top line, instead of doing commuter, transit, automobile, I'd have to do commuter or parking or, so put an or in between each one. So commuter, or it might be debt or credit or affordability. I don't know. Think of synonyms for each line. And then in your second line, do college or student or university. So, oh no, tell me what's going on. Oh yeah, it can be nouns. It can be the names of people though, too. So if there was somebody who's really advocating for debt, or if somebody like Chase Bank, maybe they push a lot of credit cards. Typically it's Capital One that's pushing credit cards on you guys. But if it's not a smart search, only the words that you put in are what it's going to search for. So if you misspell I before the E or the E before the I, it matters. So if you misspell something, take care. Okay, and you can add a row. So right now in this database, we're looking at public policy that talks about student debt, or whatever words that you put in. And so I would like you this time, I would like you not to find an article, but I would like you to go in. I want to find debt. Okay, what I'd like you to do, you don't have to pick this one. I would like you to find an article, but I would like you to go in and read the abstract. Yeah. You're all familiar with Tinder, aren't you? It's like the dating thing. The abstract is a boiled down, evidence-based version of everything about that article, but it's all like, it's checked by editors and authors and things like that. So if you read the abstract and you're like, that's not gonna work for me, you know reliably. So there's no lies in the abstract. That's why it's so good. Yeah. It's the Tinder of the academic world. So they will tell you, it will tell you what some of the problems are. It'll tell you what some of the issues are related to it, and hopefully it'll give you outcomes. So this one of the outcomes, I think we can say, is AmeriCorps would allow some people who don't want to join the military to get the benefit of debt relief. So it used to be called the Civil Service, or the Civilian Conservation Corps, things like that. So I would like you to go to the abstract of an article and find something that talks to the problem or a solution to your problem. Your student debt and your parking. And you are with this group, they're solving student credit card debt or student debt. Oh no, the presidential candidate. They've arrived on campus with their motorcade. Okay. But on this one, you're not speaking. It is the author of the article that is speaking. What did you find that is evidence-based?
Northwest has a bunch of stuff about entrepreneurship being an essential element of economic vitality and employment growth that is being crippled by our $1.5 trillion in student loan debt that we owe to ourselves.
So we're following up. So you're reinforcing the point you made initially.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay, commuter people.
Kind of. Wait. Kind of.
Throws a bone, anything will do. Sometimes the research that you do is very fragmented and you might make a very, very small sliver of a point. And that's totally legit in the research.
We did, well,
Look at you.
Transits post-pandemic reckoning, and then basically on the abstract, the primarily talks about how like after the pandemic, but just like how it's affected transportation and people willing to like sit together and see like public transportation.
Yeah.
That's why there's more of an increase to like use either for bike share or like cars.
Oh, yeah. I remember riding the bus in the after effects of the pandemic, and that was a thing. And they had the bus driver all boxed in with plexiglass too.
Yeah.
And it signs that said, do not engage the driver. Okay, last one. And I'll do this one quickly. Whoops. So you're doing catalog research, doing database research, going out to the open web and familiarizing yourself with the rhetoric and debates that people are having, and then doing research. Those are all part of the process. But one last one that I want to show you is a database called Scopus. And if you forget, send me an email. And Google Scholar does this a little bit. But the database called Scopus is something that, if you go back 40 years, all the journals were indexed by subject, and there was big indexes where you'd go through and you'd look up commuters, and then you'd read every article. And it was really laborious and slow. But now, if you go to Scopus, you can look up anything. Ooh, I'm going to look up a combo. You don't have to go to this one. Okay, I'm going to do student debt and entrepreneur. Oh, am I going to spell it right? Entrepreneur. So here's two tricks. One, if it's more than one word, even if it's not a quote, put it in quote marks. If you want entrepreneur or entrepreneurial or entrepreneurship, you can truncate it and just do a star. If you do WOM star, you'll get women, woman, wombat. So be careful how much you truncate. And then let's do commuter or driving or automobile. I'm just throwing this out there. Automobile or parking or congestion or transportation. So we're bringing our topics together. And again, these aren't looking up things. I found one. Look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna kill one of these so we have more. No, we're not gonna break. No, there's only one. I wanted to show you. So there's 12. So if I find, oh no, I'll even do this. Let's do student debt. Let's just do student debt. So out of 665 articles, what's the most important article on student debt? We don't necessarily know, but you can see if something has been cited or not over here, and you can sort by the number of times something has been cited. So if something, that's called impact. So you can go through this: unsecured debt, mental physical health, constrained after college student loans. Okay, so this one is on our topic, and arguably student attitudes to student debt and student loans and early career occupational choices are the most important articles, whoops, because they've been cited 217 times since 2011. If you get cited, if you get published in this database, that's impact that you can use to have tenure and write grants and get published again. If you have 217, that's, you can get tenure, bigger grants, streets named after you, custom parking spots, graduate advisors. The more citations you get, the greater your impact. If you have enough citations, that's where you get things like Nobel Prizes and things like that. It's how they quantify success, is if somebody cites you. And you can even see right here, it's in the 97th percentile to be cited that much. So that's a big deal. So if you need to narrow it down and you want to find the most impactful article, that's one way to do it too. And I think I've run out of time, but you would do the same thing. Okay, last thing to encourage you, reach out to me anytime, reach out to your academic advisor, because why? We said this at the beginning of class, this is your test. Why would you reach out to me or anybody here at the university as a transfer student? What would it do for you? Oh, ding, 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 you even cited the article. It fosters that sense of belongingness, as talked about by D'Amico, Dika, and Elling, that if you work on your social community belonging and friendships, you're much more likely to persist, succeed, and graduate. Well done. Okay, does anyone have any questions? You all have librarians just like me. And I can tell you, what degree are you going into? So your librarian is Lorelei, who just got an MBA with business. I don't know who information systems, you might have more computer people. What degree are you going into?
Consumer studies.
Oh, that's Dorothy, one of our new librarians, who's cooler than me, and it drives me crazy. Family and consumer studies, Dorothy is amazing. Dorothy does psychology too. So if you go into the library and say, I need to talk to Dorothy, the librarian, Dorothy's one of those people that is so cool and stylish. She'd probably come out and give you a hug and offer you like something to drink. She's just like, she's over the top cool. How about you? Okay, that'd be Lorelei. We also have an entrepreneurial librarian for small business stuff. That's Marina. There's like 4 business librarians. Okay. How about you? Oh, you have a librarian who almost climbs rocks professionally, Tally Kasuchi. She does research on community building among rock climbers in outdoor rock areas. But she's done Parks and Rec forever, and she's one of those amazing people. She knows all the health and kinesiology side as well as like the public policy side. Okay, well done.